Hello, this is Teddy from the Wide Flank crew. So this month we played the Doom reboot, which we absolutely loved. We get meta in a few places, talk a lot about what it means to be a first-person shooter, classic stuff. So buckle up for a great episode. I'm sorry to say, though, that we had some technical difficulties that led us to losing about 20 minutes of video and audio. The free version of Zoom limits you to about, 30-minute calls. So we have to stop after 30 minutes, start a new call, break up the recording, and then sync it together in post. We tried recording with a different software, so we didn't have to do that this time, and fuck something up and lost some footage and some chunks of audio. So thanks for bearing with us and our growing pains. Which brings me to my next point, which is we've started a Patreon because, one, we want to be rich, and also, two, Zoom Pro, which we're now going to use, costs money, and three, games cost money.
www.patreon.com/wideflank.
We were talking about, in one of our planning episodes, about playing Scarlet Nexus, which we ended up abandoning because new games are expensive. If we're going to play anything new, it's going to cost the pod about $190 each game. So that's, if we're playing just one new game a month, that's $2,280 a year, which is kind of expensive. Obviously, we like games and don't mind paying for them, but we'd like the freedom to be able to play new games with all of you guys whenever possible. So that being said, if you like the pod and want to help ease our burden, head on over to our Patreon and click one of the buttons that gives us money, I guess, and buy us a coffee. I think that's what the kids say these days anyway. I should say that even though we're starting a Patreon, we don't plan on paywalling content or anything. We may do some Discord tiers and experiment with some fun extra items like photos of our notes or some of our voice memos that we take during game loading screens, or we just scream into our phone when we're in between slaying demons. So yeah, if you like the show, or even if you don't like the show but want to support us, head on over to our Patreon. Also follow us on social media because we're going to be posting all our best Rocket League saves and our biggest League of Legends jokes, which all are worth watching. So we hope you enjoy the episode, and here we are with Doom 2016.
Welcome to Wide Flank.
I'm willing to take full responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
Okay, welcome to Wide Flank, episode 26, Doom 2016. Episode, what is this, 3, 4?
Four.
Gameclub 3.
Yeah, Gameclub 3, total 4.
Yeah, Gameclub 3. So we played Doom, the 2016 reboot. What should we call it? Doom 2016? Is that what everybody refers to it as?
I think from now on, we can just say Doom, but
Okay.
It's called Doom in parentheses 2016. Danny, why don't you tell us about the game?
Yeah, we'll refer to Doom, the original Doom, as original Doom.
Yes.
I think.
Old Doom.
But yeah, so this month we played Doom 2016, hereto referred to as Doom.
I promise it's the last time.
last time.
That one was funny though.
I'm control effing deleting all my 2016s in my spreadsheet.
The game was released as a reboot for the famous Doom franchise. It escaped development hell in 2016, 12 years after Doom 3. It was rewritten as a new reboot instead of being like a fourth installment sequel to Doom 3. directed by Marty Stratton and Hugo Martin, and developed and published by, just developed by id Software, who are the same developers that made the original Doom. They also made Quake and Wolfenstein, the old Wolfensteins, not the new ones. And their games are widely considered to have been the first true FPS games. None of the original founders were involved in this game, but the work from id Software has spawned a huge extended universe, tons of books, fan fiction, documentaries. And the score was done by Mick Gordon, who also worked on the new Wolfenstein games and Prey. Game widely well received by critics and fans for its graphics, sound, gameplay. People still use it to benchmark computer hardware. And we played it.
We played the hell out of it. Well, we played our way into hell and out of it, I guess.
A few times.
Yeah, many times. Into Mars, hell, wherever it sent us. What'd you guys think?
So none of the original people are here for this?
The founders. There might be people who are at id that are still there, but I think there are 5 co-founders, and none of them. The last one left in like 2014, I think.
The 2 super famous guys are the 2 Johns, Carmack and Romero. They're known for being like absolute rock stars of just video games in general. I started Masters of Doom, which is a book about them, and I've really enjoyed it so far. They're also making a TV show, Masters of Doom, about them. Carmack, I think, is now like the CTO at Oculus, and Romero went on to start his own game studio and do a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, they're the main guys who I think it was a huge deal when they left id.
I mean, apparently not, because this game fucking rolled.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it's a huge deal news-wise, and then like it opened the door for the young blood to come in and actually complete this fucking amazing game.
Yeah, so it was good.
It was
to answer your question.
Real good.
Danny, you can hate it. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Castlevania all over again.
I'm so sorry, Marty and Hugo.
Where do you guys want to begin?
We started off with what was bad last time. Maybe we should talk about everything that's good.
I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like a logical place to start because it's the thing you do most in the game and sort of like the driving it's like core to all Doom games. When I say all, I mean skipping Doom 3, which was panned by a lot of like critics and stuff for losing the core Doom aesthetics of Doom 2, and Doom 64, like the originals in the 90s. So the combat is what I'm referencing, and the style of sort of like death arena that you're in, the glory kills, which is new to this game, but absolutely you probably did it 500 times while playing, and just how everything feels, like the look and the feel of all combat, I think is a good place to start, and it was really good.
Yeah, my first experience with this I played the first Doom, but I think I was like too young to like really like get it. I don't know. I don't think I like played it all the way through. I just kind of like, I don't know, like was at my cousin's house or something and like played a bunch of levels. I think like Unreal Tournament was like the first time I played a game kind of like this, where there was like some verticality in it, but just like running around in like a big circular arena, like just blasting everything over and over again. And I hadn't really played a game like that in a long time. And this was just so fucking good. Like I feel like I just play so many either like survival games or like military sims, like Call of Duty-esque, that I don't really like, but I always end up playing for some reason. And this was just like so refreshing. For I don't know. Bail me out, Danny.
Yeah, no, I didn't think I was gonna like the game, actually. And I don't know. I just, especially in the last few years, I haven't enjoyed really arcadey shooters. I feel like I don't play Call of Duty anymore. But
Would you consider that arcadey?
more arcadey, leans arcadey, I would say.
Meaning what? Not realistic? Is that what you mean when you say arcadey?
Yeah, or just like I guess like constant combat, I guess.
Okay.
Where you're just like, it's like when you're on like an arcade machine and all you have is a gun and all you do is shoot. You know, so it's like
I gotcha.
And so but I loved it, and I think the gunplay and the combat mechanics are, the main reason why. It's just extremely fun, just all the time.
Yeah, I think we all, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we all sort of didn't like it at first. The opening is like one of the strongest I've ever experienced in any games. The first 2 minutes or whatever, you basically wake up, rip yourself out of this lock and chain, kill demons. Then you get presented with this plot device on a touchscreen, and your character just like smashes it and fucks it off, and then you get a shotgun, and then you just kill more demons, and you're like, holy shit. But then I feel like the game lacked a little bit, and it was almost like finding itself while we were also figuring out what the game was like, because it's so new. It's old in a way, but new in the sense that in the last 25 years there hasn't really been games like this, and it's not the norm anymore. But once you kind of get used to there's no reloading, there's no fall damage, there's no price of death, there's not really a story. You, in a way that we should talk about, you have like infinite health, infinite ammo through the mechanics of the game, and if you stop moving, you die. So that is like one of the key fundamentals of the old Doom games, is you're running, you're gunning, you're dodging different projectiles moving at different speeds, you're dodging different types of enemies that interact in different ways, and you're just killing everything you can find, and you're just an unstoppable god.
Yeah, I think that is. I think that's like a really good way to put it. It took me a little while to figure out how the game worked. Right, the game actually wasn't bad. I don't think. I just didn't realize it was good. Right, it was like, and also they can't throw you into the meat grinder right away. Right, like I think a lot of games do tutorialize and like introduce you to things, but the game really starts to work when you are just constantly moving, constantly going off, like climbing up platforms, like doing all this insane shit. And you can't do that 5 minutes into the game. You have no fucking idea how to do it. Or even if you knew it, like a part of it, you wouldn't be able to like link all of it together. So yeah, like I think the game like has to kind of be dumbed down and bad for the first few fights, because you have to learn how the game works before it can like really start to sing and there's like a real flow.
Yeah, there's a very clear critical point in the not in the story, but somewhere through the game's timeline, where each weapon addition is no longer like a new weapon that you have to use all the time. It's just another option, another way to just shred. And at the beginning of the game, though, it is different, where every time like you go from the pistol to the shotgun, like that is just a whole nother world of gameplay. So yeah, there's like these very distinct early steps where the like it really just continues to open up wider and wider until you're just, and then it becomes more of a sandbox for you to approach each level and each, combat encounter with like whatever you see fit. But I think that was part of the problem, or not the problem, part of why we maybe weren't as psyched at the beginning, is because you are kind of boxed in the way you can approach everything, and you don't really know. You haven't really synergized with the game yet.
Yeah, and also one of the notes that I have on, I guess this is sort of a negative, but not really a negative, I'm trying to keep it positive, is like the movement in the game. But so you're constantly moving. You learn that really quickly, right? If you stand still, you just get surrounded and destroyed by a horde of demons. You need to like move around these basically like multiplayer arena type of map design. You're in a small room with very few areas of cover, anything like cover, and you just need to run and jump and kill. I think that the game limits itself with the lack of movement. So movement is one of the things that you sort of progress as the game goes. You get the ability to double jump, then you get the ability to control yourself in the air, and you learn about mantling and climbing stuff. Where I feel like I would have liked that from the get-go, because that to me is part of the core of, to use one of the quotes from a GDC talk I watched, one of the id guys, he said, we wanted it to feel like Bruce Lee on a skateboard with a shotgun. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like that, you get there. You actually get there. But it just takes a while to get there. Whereas I would have been okay if I was limited with just the pistol or limited with just the first shotgun, but I could still move like Bruce Lee on a skateboard. You know what I mean? And I mean, you do get there, and it feels incredible. But like movement wise, if it felt more like Apex Legends and I could sprint, slide, double jump, wall jump, climb anything, I feel like it would have immediately hit harder than it did.
Yeah, it's hard to know like if they're gating this, like the mechanics and the guns and stuff like that. Like if I would have liked it a lot right from the beginning, or like I would have gotten it. It does seem like I got double jump like too late.
Yeah,
it was way too late.
I was also thinking that.
Like that could be in there from the beginning. It's not like I need to learn a lot to be able to use that. But
yeah.
But yes, like I think otherwise it. Do you think it's like too? I noticed the characters are like the character is pretty heavy, which I think is like kind of what you're talking about. Like it feels like climbing feels a little slow. Like because we've been playing a lot of Apex like the past couple of years or however long it's been out, and like that game isn't that good, but like I just like love running around the map because it feels
so
like
fast.
you feel like liquid, right? It's like Bruce Lee. You want to be like water, right?
Right.
And this game didn't quite have the movement. But I do want to mention, like you saying that Bruce Lee on a skateboard. I sent this to you guys earlier. Robert Yang, who's like a game designer at NYU, who just makes the best fucking games. They're like all like, he's like, a lot of them are like about like he's gay, and they're usually about like I don't know, like some like homoerotic, like often it's homoerotic, like you're at a urinal looking at other guys' dicks or like massaging different guys in a shower. His games are amazing. We'll put some in show notes. But he said like it in reference to Doom, he was like, I prefer the tyranny of anime over the tyranny of military sim, right? And this is much more anime than it is like a military shooter, and like glorious results.
Yeah, I think I hadn't really thought of any negatives about the movement. It's not something I really think about in games generally. I feel like people who played a lot of Counter-Strike think about it a lot. Like Alon. And
do you know anyone like that?
But I have some other friends who also like complain about movement in games we play, and I do think there's something to be said, at least when it comes to sprint. There's something to be said about the only time you don't have a reticle on your screen or you don't have your gun up is when you're mantling, right? Which I think is part of what makes the climbing feel a little slower than it actually is. Maybe it is as slow as it actually is, but it feels as slow as it actually is. But you are just like always in shoot mode. You are never interrupting unless it's like switching guns and mantling, you know? And
that's
I think
a really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, if just off the top of my head, if you climbed with one hand instead of two and just still had your gun out, I don't think we would have felt like it was slow because combat never ended.
Right. Yeah, those interruptions feel really long. I mean, even the glory kills feel like a little too much of a hiccup in the action. I mean, I do love them, but
What are the glory kills, first of all? Just so people have no idea.
Yeah, so glory kills, basically, if you do enough damage to an enemy, they get like highlighted and are staggered. It's like a visceral attack or a parry in the Soulsborne games. And you can just go up and do an execution attack. This behind me, this is one of them, where Doomguy is about to split this demon's head in half. But when it does it, you become untargetable. The music normally like cuts out. You hear like all of the sounds of what you're doing to the demon. And for the most part, it's really epic and awesome. But sometimes it almost feels like a scene in a movie that they left like a half second on either end. It was just like a little too much, but I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like maybe we should break this down a little bit. So the glory kill is essential because you are invulnerable while it's taking place. And after a glory kill, you get health and later armor and ammo sometimes. Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supplies.
And so it's like essential to the rhythm of the game. Like you need to stagger people to like survive some like big attack that's coming, or refill your health like when your health's low. So like sometimes you can just like nuke enemies, or often you're nuking enemies, but once your health starts to get low or you want to top off your health, you need to like stagger them, like not do too much damage, run up to them, execute them, and then continue this cycle. And one other important component of this is like the chainsaw.
Yes.
Which is like you have very limited chainsaw gasoline fuel and you basically about once every other fight you can chainsaw an enemy, in which the like more difficult they are, the more fuel you use, but also the better the ammo drops are. So you can kind of like sit on your chainsaw for a little while, use all your ammo, get really low, do some glory kills, and then chainsaw some like huge dude right as he gets up in your face and restock your ammo, and then you're back. Like repeat this cycle. And it just feels fucking awesome when you have it dialed in. It just feels so good.
It's sort of another thing that doesn't really make sense for us just coming in first bunch of fights. You don't really care about glory kills. Like it's a cool animation, but you're not like, this is essential and part of the it's not just like you said, it's part of the cycle. It's not just like how to kill a demon, it's how to play the game and not die. Like it's so essential. You have to always move, you have to always shoot, you have to glory kill here and there, you have to chainsaw here and there, or you will run out of health or you will run out of ammo. So it's very well executed in the sense that it encourages movement, it encourages aggression, which you learn, again, like I said earlier, you learn very early. If you don't move, if you try and cover, if you try and make it Gears of War, you'll just die. And one of the things in the no clip doc that was really good is he said he wanted to feel like Fruit Ninja with demons, the glory kills, and it totally does, and they're so sick. And like I found myself like sticking my tongue out and stuff in those moments. Like they're fucking they feel so good, and like the animations are clean and tight, and it gets a little monotonous maybe at some point, but then the fighting gets better and harder, and then it gets back. You're back to doing it, and it's just like it's like the one mechanic they added that no other Doom game has had, and in my opinion, they just fucking nailed it, and it feels so good.
Yeah, there's enough variety. Well, there's various types of glory kills on each enemy. And then each different enemy type has like a different main way you kill it when you glory kill it. So it does feel pretty fresh. Even like if you just are glory killing imps all game, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually you have a pinky, a Stephen Pinker. And you yank their horn out and slice them open with it or whatever. And so it's
sick.
Yeah, although I was waiting for a glory kill where like I stick the shotgun in their face and blow their head off, or like stuff a grenade in their mouth. That was the only thing that was the only thing I was left wanting. But
you kind of get those.
You get the game closes with the shotgun to the mouth of the Spider Queen, but
no, it's a BFG.
It's a BFG.
Oh, you're totally right.
But also one of the fat guys, I forget what they're called, Mancubus or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
one of them, you pull the thing out from their chest, stuff it down their throat.
Right?
And then,
Yeah, you do.
It's very like The Rock when he sticks the green ball of poison in the guy's mouth and then punches him in the face. Like
the VX gas.
So fucking sick.
Or it's like the X-Men First Class, where I don't remember which X-Men movie it is for sure, where there's the like adapt guy and Kevin Bacon puts like a ball of energy inside of him and is like, adapt to this. And then he explodes.
Dodge this. Yeah, there's also glory kills from all angles of the same enemy, which, you can do from behind, like looking at their legs when you're crouched, when you're jumping. Like, it probably sounds like it'll interrupt the flow of never moving, but whatever angle you're at and however fast you're moving, you can hit it and it happens and you're back in action. And like, I felt like it didn't interrupt the action at all.
Yeah, I do. I actually don't care a lot about the animations. I was hoping there would be a way that like maybe you could incorporate the angle more to like be a little bit more strategic or something. Like as you're falling down, I think makes sense. So when you fall from heights, they have impact, right? So like if you fall from a super high height, you like hit the ground and you're kind of stunned for a second. This is probably called something.
Impact compensation in the game.
Yeah. But if you glory kill you from above, you don't have that, right? So that's like a really good game mechanic way to incentivize the glory kill to use it strategically. Like there's no reason to attack someone from the left leg versus the right leg versus this other stuff. Which is, it's okay. Like it's not, this game's fucking awesome, but I don't know. The variety, the variation isn't super important to me. I did want to say you like the beginning of the glory kills kind of like represent my evolution with the game, whereas like in the beginning I like did my first glory kill and was like haha, and then I would just make sure I sniped all the imps from far away with the charged pistol and blew their heads off and was like, oh, I'm never gonna glory kill because like I'm a fucking sniper and I have amazing aim and I've played shooters my whole life. And then in the end of the game, I would literally, someone was ready, like prime for a glory kill, I'd throw a grenade at their feet in a sea of guys. I'd dive in, glory kill them as the grenade explodes and I'm invulnerable. And then like that area is clear and then I go back to fighting. And like, it's just like, so that change was like so different and just feels so awesome to like run in, like do this insane shit. Like you're, like a super action hero versus like the beginning where I'm like, I'm never going to do this and I'm just going to shoot people from distance.
That's awesome.
And it's just feels so good.
I pulled this long quote from the writer and designer at Supergiant Games, Greg Cassavin, who also used to be a critic, and he was writing about Doom, and I pulled this quote. He said, apart from all the blistering action, it's filled with reverence for the 93 original. It's not a reboot, it's an homage. It's interesting to look at how shooters evolved in response to Doom. And he's talking about the original Doom. At first, most shooters were like Doom. Then shooters started asking questions. They weren't always deep questions, but still, what if you had to stop and reload your weapons from time to time? Then you couldn't keep firing nonstop and would have to choose your moments to engage. What if you had to take advantage of cover? Then there'd be more combat than just running and dodging. What if you had limited health? Combat could feel more dangerous, as it well ought. What if there was a story? And so on. And some very good shooters were born of these questions. And now it's taken more than 20 years for those re-examined assumptions to become the cookie-cutter standard of today. So now it's Doom presenting the alternative to the trend and asking the hard-hitting questions. And I think like it's such a good quote because we're all coming in with this basically baggage of almost 30 years, because we're playing it this year, not in 2016, almost 30 years of what is a shooter, what is a single player game, what is a campaign, and we're going to cover, we're crouching and zooming, we're going for headshots, and this game does such a good job of it's an homage to the old one, like you said. We're relearning the origins of Doom. Even though it's so old, we're relearning how to play this game, which is something we all said at the beginning. We're relearning how to run and gun, how to YOLO, how to be the guy, how to be Doomguy, how to be the Doom Slayer, the thing that all demons fear, the thing that hell fears, the thing that is just worshipped by everyone to go kill and kick ass and just rip and tear, you know? And so, yeah, I just thought it was super, super good quote.
It is. I think this is the best shooter I've ever played. Just, it is. I think that quote's like really highlights my about my assumptions about what shooters should be. Because you're playing against robots, right? You're not. Like playing Wolfenstein, like the new Wolfenstein, which is like cool and like has a good story. Like you are like playing angles, like crouching behind stuff. Like maybe you can see someone like around, like their arm around somewhere where they're like ducking behind cover, and you just like kill them like by shooting them in the arm a bunch. Like, or you're waiting at the top of the stairs, waiting for people to come up, and you just blast them away real quick. Half-Life 2, right? You do stuff like this. It's fun, but like this is, I just feel like this is, it lets you just go all out in the game space in a way that like is really expressive, and the game is pushing you to your limit, and you're pushing like the enemies to their limit. Like you're saying, you always have to be on the move and everything. I feel like we kind of should talk about like Hitscan versus Projectiles, but Danny told me when he was trying to get me to play paintball when we were younger. I don't know if have you ever played paintball, Alon? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like, it's the best video game ever made. And
so sick.
And it's I didn't really ever want to play it, and the first time I played it, I was like, this is fucking amazing. This is like the best video game ever. Mm-hmm. And because you can do something awesome and people can't hit you, right? You can dive through something, and like the bullets are slow and like they're not like laser beams, right? You can slide behind cover and do something incredible. And
I was going to interrupt you and say, as opposed to laser tag, which is the worst video game ever.
Right, yes. Yes, totally. And this is paintball, right? It's like it's even slower. But like for some reason we've always like, oh, bullets are super fast, and like Wolfenstein and all these other games, it's like if you click on someone's head, they instantly die. And in this, it's not only does that not true for you, but it's not true for the enemies, and so you can manipulate that. There's no need to cheese enemies, because like actually what you're doing is totally outplaying them in a way that feels awesome, right? You just dodge the projectiles back and forth, and you like to cheese them would even like take more time. Like there are like enemies where you can just like, strafe back and forth and like bounce and kill them, and you're just like, I'm playing with you. Like I'm a god. Yeah, like you can't touch me. I don't know. Did I say enough there? Do you guys have something to go off of that?
I think it's an apt comparison. It is. Yeah, it's amazing to like bob and weave between bullets and like jump over a pinky and also be dodging projectiles, like jump over a pinky, dodge a projectile, and then shotgun him in the back twice and glory kill. Like that second and a half is just amazing. It's an out of body experience. I have a bunch of clips. I started saving clips of really cool things I did like that. And I was watching through some of them before we jumped on tonight. And it was amazing what I thought was awesome at the beginning of the game. I have one where I just like had the shotgun and like jumped off of something and shot on my way down and killed something, and then landed and killed something. Then later in the game, it's like there are 10 enemies. I BFG'd them, switched to a Gauss and like sniped one of the Ghastlies that's flying around, and then, just like killed like 10 times as many enemies in the same amount of time. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, one of the things, I think this is relevant to what you started saying also, Teddy, and one of the things I was thinking about a lot is like, what is a first-person shooter? What is an FPS game? And right, we were just talking about how we've been kind of taught that that's what you should do in shooters, and that's the goal, is to hit them without them even getting a shot off, really is like the goal. And then I thought more about like, okay, so first-person shooter was basically invented with Wolfenstein 3D, also by id, also by the same, core guys, and then they made Doom, and then they made Doom 2, all in like less than 2 years of time, I think, with all those games. It's obviously named after the perspective that you're seeing the game from. You're in the person, you're in the model, seeing first person like humans see. But I don't know if this is too, like, I'm reaching too much, but I thought more about it, and like the difference between this and other shooters, say Counter-Strike or Super Hot or Half-Life 2 or whatever you want to throw in there, is like, you actually are the Doomguy in this game. You're not yourself controlling a thing. You're basically cosplaying as this fast, powerful, alpha, aggressive Space Marine, or you'll die. There's actually no other way to play the game. So it's a true first person in that sense. Like, from the minute you wake up, I talked about that intro already. Everyone's worshiping you. You kill demons. You break the fucking screen. I don't care about the story. Get this out of my face. I'm wearing the Doomguy mask already. I kick so much fucking ass. Not I'm controlling a good guy. You wear a mask so long you forget who you were beneath it, like, sort of vibe. Whereas like Counter-Strike, you express yourself through your skill, your movement, your aim, whatever. Super Hot, you're controlling a character, expressing yourself with your skill, your timing, your navigation of the puzzles, your like assessment of the level. Half-Life, like, you're not Gordon. You're never Gordon. You're just, they call you Gordon, whatever. It doesn't even matter. But I realized through like thinking about this for, when I started playing through now, is that this is like the true first person shooter core, where you are the user becomes the character truly, instead of just seeing through their eyes and controlling it. I don't know if that's like too deep, but that's how I felt.
No, yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, podcast over. Yeah, we have nothing else to say. That's beautiful.
I gotta post that. That's gonna be our new TikTok. Is just that spiel.
It's unfortunately it's an 11-part TikTok, but we'll make it work.
There's this term people use in game criticism and design. It's called like ludo narrative, whatever. Ludo being like play, narrative, and being like story. Okay. And it's like, this is a representation of that, like, of this merging of, like, usually shooters or games just clash, right? It's like they tell you a narrative and then there's all these weird mechanics in between.
Right.
And like, we just kind of are like, oh, this is how games work. Like, they're not perfect. And, so whatever, like, doesn't matter that you kill civilians occasionally, like, even though you're supposed to be like a MIT scientist, like,
right.
We won't ask too many questions. Like, we let them get away with it. And that's not the case, right? It's just you're 100% right. It's just totally linked up, and it's amazing.
Right. Yeah, and just one other like follow-up that I forgot to say as I was ranting is, one thing that I remembered from our Half-Life 2 pod was we talked about like the silent protagonist and how you hate that, Teddy, and you were like, the thing that I remember you saying was, because I talk. Right? This guy should talk because I talk. Doomguy never talks in 30 years of games. But that's okay because I'm Doomguy.
Yeah, right.
It's not me. And like that just represents it. Like, the story, we should talk about the story. Maybe we can transition there. But the story doesn't matter because he doesn't think it matters, which means therefore I don't think it matters. You know, it's like him smashing the screen is me smashing the screen because I just want to skip it and kill more demons. It's all one. It's all brain link. It's fucking like Pacific Rim linking brains or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm down to move to story because like I think it's bad. But I don't know if it has to be. It does kind of seem like, you know, like, oh well, he hates the story too. We hate the story. Like, yes, but I feel like you can. I don't know. Maybe you can do better. Like, why have it at all? Kind of. It did feel like still grounded too much in what we think of as like narrative end games and shooters. Like, oh, we have this dude who radios commands to you and instructions. So I was like, I mean, it actually is amazing that I still play games that are like, go to this objective and like push the action button on it because like you need to do that. It's like, oh, the key to this thing is over here. You have to go do that. Like, I don't know, just like put a dot at the end of the level and be like, get here.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I don't need to talk to anybody.
Yeah, that was Luke's question. Was did y'all give a shit about the plot or nah? Or to expand, how do you feel the plot serves the game? And what do you think of the story, Danny?
I didn't really think that much of it. I liked the characters. Like, I really liked Dr. Samuel Hayden. I like this giant robot with a really cool voice. Yeah. Our XCOM board member.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was Doomguy in that respect, where I just wasn't even. I did like reading the lore of the enemies and weapons and stuff, and some of the environments as well. But
did you? I feel like
no, not enjoyed as in like I liked learning more about this world. It was more like I thought they were written in a funny way and a playful way that I liked.
They were kind of funny, yeah.
But no, I didn't think. I think I have something. I thought I had something written down that was a quote from it, but maybe I don't from one of them. But anyways,
I basically agree with everything both of you said, where it's just, I thought it was like cool that the Doom guy didn't give a shit and I'm the Doom guy and I don't give a shit, but it didn't have to be bad. And also what you said, Teddy, I think is important, that it didn't really have to exist. Like, because that's not what I think you're spot on, where I think they just had to throw it in because that, like, it wouldn't be surprising to me if Bethesda, who bought id, was just like, it needs some fucking story, guys. Just throw something in. You know, we're bringing in the story writing guy, and they're like, fine, whatever, fuck.
But this is interesting. Like, I'm trying to imagine now if there was no narration and it was, you basically just like punch the thing. It's like, escape this, and you basically just got a one line in the corner that says like get out of the building or like escape the room, and then later it's like destroy the coolant system, like bring down the base, you know, just no exposition, just very strict tasks and maybe more reasonable transitions where like you break something and then the portal to hell opens and then it's like escape hell, which is basically what it is anyways.
Yeah,
I wonder if that would have been weird, or it almost feels like it could have been sicker, like almost like a dark room, almost like a dark room. You know, that's what I'm imagining. Yeah. Stoke the fire.
It's sort of show me, don't tell me. It's like I don't need a PowerPoint presentation about going to hell. Like when I get there and the demon, whatever fucking devil, God, whatever, it goes, he's here. When you get to hell, you're just like, oh my God, I'm in hell. This is so sick. Like, you know, and it's really like a horror story about the Doomslayer. It's a horror story about the demons and hell things being scared of you. That's what the actual story is.
Yeah.
You're like, I told you about this, Teddy, but I pulled from the Mitchell and Webb Peep Show guys skit is like Hans are like, are we the baddies? Like at some point during the game I realized like I'm not locked up in here with you. You guys are locked up in here with me. You know, when the doors close and I start the fight by ripping the fucking heart out of the thing, I'm like, let's fucking go. Like, you're all dead. You're mine. I'm unkillable. You know, and that's really what the story is. It's like that feeling of becoming the Doomguy and then learning to be the Doomguy is really the story. The rest of the shit, one thing that I wrote down is like, the story is so half-assed and vague. It feels like every sentence ends with "or else," and I'm just like, okay, you know, like it's so stupid and so poorly written that you start the audio of something and you just walk away and the audio just fades away.
Right? Right.
So it doesn't matter at all. And like, I think there's like one cutscene that is long. It's when you meet Samuel Hayden, your robot narrator, and you can't like skip it, and Doomguy doesn't like just kill him or punch him and break it and move on from the story. And like, I remember that being like, why am I here? Why am I stuck in here? Like, why are you telling me this? Why am I in this room? Why don't I have my guns? This is so stupid. I don't care. And that was like an essential part of the story, you know, where he explains the hell thing and what you have to get. And it's just like, yeah, I think it could have been cooler as like almost just nothing, and everything else that we've said that is so great would still exist, right?
Right.
Yeah. The codex, I was like, oh, you know, we're doing this for the video game club. Like, I want to, you know, do all of it. And like, you know, after maybe like the 20th codex entry, I was like, why the fuck am I reading this? Like, this is so like, why, like, this is not fun. Like the game is about like doing insane shit in a combat arena. Like, why am I doing this?
Yep.
Leave it for the game manual.
Yeah. Or just like, I feel like if it's going to be there, don't like I'm going to evaluate it, right? Like, and it's bad. Like, and so if you put it in, don't phone it in, make it good. I
feel like we should say that I believe none of us have played the sequel, which is Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Which came out this year, or was it this year or last year?
I think it was last year.
Okay, last year. You know, it took a lot of balls to do what they did with Doom 2016. It really did. I mean, that's why I was in development hell for so long. They made a bunch of unfun bad games before coming to this, you know, and it took a lot of balls to be like, no, like, story doesn't matter. You just kill, you just move, like, well, you know, go back to those cores. I wouldn't be shocked if in Eternal, and I probably will play it because this one was so fun, but I wouldn't be shocked if in Eternal they went more in the direction that we're talking about, because this was so well received. And I think like there wasn't a single review that I looked up was like, and then you get the codex, which is so cool, and like unlock all the environments and read about like Olivia Pierce, this fucking last thing I could possibly care about, you know? Like, so maybe in Eternal they went this step further that we are craving, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a great, I guess, story moment, or not story moment, but like a part where Dr. Samuel Hayden is talking to you when you're destroying the filters for the like Argent reactor.
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah. And he's talking about like, you are just like an agent of destruction. He's not like that. He's just kind of narrating you as you bust these things open and kind of asking you not to. And I was totally thinking of the end of Half-Life 2 when Breen is over the loudspeaker like, you have destroyed so much, but name one thing you have created.
Yeah.
It was a great parallel.
Are we the baddies?
Are we
Right,
the baddies?
exactly,
That's what I'm
exactly.
saying. Yeah.
There's more of an answer to that question in this one than in Half-Life 2, but
but I don't care also. It's like a bigger question, but also I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm here to kill. You woke me up. I'm here to do my job.
The sense of humor is bad. I find it like very puerile. Like, it's just like adolescent. Like, I just feel like it's like, I don't know a lot about John Carmack and what's his name?
John Romero, but
like this, like it reminds me like too much of like Duke Nukem, like potty humor is not the right term, but it's just like really adolescent, like like, did you guys find the Super Turbo Turkey Puncher game?
No.
There's like an arcade console I found in the back of some room where you just
missed that.
punch turkeys and you get like a high score for punching turkeys. I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, this is not funny. This is just not funny.
What are the other parts where they try and be funny?
Like, there's just like the like propaganda of like the space station.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It just, I don't know. It just felt like a little too, I don't know. I didn't like it. And it was like, I just feel like these are like a bunch of like dudes who think they're funny.
Yeah. Which you see in the no clip doc and stuff, and they do think they're funny, and they have really bad taste in action movies. Based on one of them was saying like what's his name, Hugo Martin, who was really funny, and he actually did work on the Jaegers from Pacific Rim, which is why I had that like in my head. He created them, which
That's
is sick.
awesome.
It's so cool. Even though I thought that movie was shit, it was like, those are cool. He was saying how like The Last Boy Scout was like a major epiphany moment, which is a buddy cop movie with Bruce Willis and I forget his fucking name, and it was really bad. I watched it because of this. I was like, yeah, okay, inspiration, cool, yeah, let me watch it. Terrible action movie, but yeah, they are exactly that. Like he talks about the Codex a lot in the no clip doc, and he's like, yeah, it was funny. Like, I love that nerd shit, like collecting. I was like, whatever. Like, you do you. Like, you made a great game, but like, it's trash. Yeah.
Yeah, I have written down a line from Foundry, the Foundry level that says, "Have you filled out your accidental death and dismemberment form yet? See Jessica in HR to fill it out."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely know what you're saying. Though I do think the one funny moment that sticks out to me is when you need like you have to get through a retina scanner. I think it's to get the BFG.
Yeah.
And you slam the corpse into the retina scanner, but that's just me.
Yeah, I wanted to think it was funny, but it was just like too much. I couldn't think it was funny.
Love it.
I also, like, as soon as someone offends me with their bad sense of humor, I'm like,
right.
It's
right.
doubly
hard to win you
hard.
back.
Yeah, it's doubly hard to impress me.
Well, it's also, this is just another little tangent. It's like those little story things, like where you basically just look at the thing that it tells you to look at and press the use key, and then it slams the head on. Or you look at another dead body, press the use key, and then you take his arm off and like scan his hand or whatever. What does that do? Like, what does that do for me storytelling wise? Like, if you want that to be part of the story, cool, I'm down. Like, there are games where I probably have to cut this guy's arm off and pick up his hand and scan it. Like, either make me do it or don't put it in the game. It's like kind of where I was thinking.
In Metal Gear Solid 2, you can choke people to like subdue them, and then like you choke them for a while, you can move them and then knock them out. And at one point, in order to get through a retinal scanner, like this is, way back in the day, you drag the guy over who you're choking to the retinal scanner and like get through. Like, that to me is awesome.
Right.
Like,
That's
using the game mechanics.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like it really you feel awesome versus like it should just be a key card, but instead you grab like a torso and you smash the guy's face.
It's just stupid.
Thing.
It's just stupid. It's like those are the very few moments in the game where you never actually leave first person perspective, but it sort of feels like you do. You're like, oh, this highlighted dead guy, I have to walk up to him and press E, and then this like animation plays where I cut his arm off and put it. I'm just like, what? Like, you remove me for a second. Like, let me just play, please. Like, yeah. I don't even remember how we got here, but
All right, message received. I get it.
Teddy, what were you saying about projectiles and Hitscan? Was there more stuff you wanted to say about that? Because you started it, and then I think we kind of like didn't talk about it.
No, I just think more games need to do projectiles. I just think like it is, it's such a good way for you to express yourself by leading enemies, like in terms of like skill cap, although I'm not super psyched on like just maximizing skill cap in games, but I do think it then like there's a lot of like interesting ways you can outplay people using that. And I just think it's like a lot more, it's usually like slower in a fun way. It's like kind of like you're fighting in slow motion, like it's the Matrix or something, right? You're Neo dodging bullets instead of Die Hard. Not to say Die Hard isn't good.
And watch your mouth.
Yeah, sorry. But I feel like that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I feel like Bullet Drop also it adds like a level of like humanity to the combat where like when I'm throwing a ball to someone, I like look at them and figure out how, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw this hard. And like, I can't explain how I put that perfect amount, but like in PUBG, someone's running on a beach and I'm like, I'm going to go 5 notches above them and take the shot. And like, you just like, you know, your brain makes the calculation. And there is something like really cool about having to humanize or like bring your own like human nature
like making
which is really cool.
That doing that same mental math that you do in real life all the time. It's not
it's
just
very
throwing a ball. It's
immersive,
like when I throw something in the trash, when I like throw a fork in the sink, right? You're always doing that in real life. It's cool to do it in a game. And also I think it's we mentioned this, but it's really cool that when the enemies have projectiles too, right? Because it gives you something to dodge. The id guy in the GDC talk that I mentioned before, and we'll put in the notes, he was saying projectiles in Doom are basically oncoming traffic in a racing game. And he said the enemies aren't too dissimilar. There's no time for exotic behaviors or long animations because you will have already killed them or run by them and they're no longer in your field of view. You need to be able to look at an enemy or the silhouette or the projectile itself and know you do that mental math, right? Of how do I dodge this? How am I going to outplay this? Like you look at a room, these are all the enemies. How am I going to kill them? What's the best way to kill them? Use my ammo. What gun do I want? Like you need to be able to do that instantly and then attack it. And that's like such a big part of the fun. Yeah.
When we were talking about first person shooters, like what's, you know, like I've been like thinking about this a lot. Like do we just play them because like that's how we see the world? Like, is this an interesting way to play games? Like you basically are always eliminating maybe 2/3 of the game space where you're based on where you're looking. And I feel like a lot of old shooters and a lot of shooters today, it's more like you're just kind of like a field of view moving through the world. You do like turn and do stuff, but you're kind of like, when you play through a GoldenEye level, it's like basically Mario, right? You're just like pushing through like the world. Like there's a guy, it's almost like you're playing like a House of the Dead at like an arcade, right? It's almost like you're on rails. And this, it's like really like the lack of visual cues in the space. Like it's constantly forcing you to like turn and look and like get information, turn back. Like I've had my back to this part of the room for like 4 or 5 seconds. Like I'm like, this is getting dangerous. Like, do I really want to try and finish this guy off, or maybe I should turn? And like, it really leans in. It's the wrong word. It just like, it knows it's a shooter, right? It knows that I'm gonna like abuse the fact that you're looking in one direction for too long, or I'm gonna punish you for it. So like I'm constantly forcing you to like interact with the fact that, you know, this is all behind, like taking place off screen, which is like weird. Like it doesn't happen in a lot of other games. You can just like see everything that's going on, and like I feel like most shooters are just like, well, this is what humans see, so this is what we're going to show you. And in Doom, it's like, no, like there's a reason for this. Like there's like a, you can feel the stress behind you, like, or it forces you to constantly get information from different areas and then lose it and then go back to it.
Yeah, like if I haven't looked behind me in like 2 seconds, there is like a pressure building. I like can feel it, that I have no idea what's going on. Maybe a pinky spawned and is about to charge me, you know? So I totally agree. That's really well said.
They call it combat chess, which I think is a really bad name for it, but that's what was coined, I think, back in the day, and they just stick with it. And what they mean by combat chess is that basically you're in the middle of a board or a level or a map, and all of these different types of pieces are surrounding you. So it has nothing to do with actual chess aside from different types of pieces that move differently. And you have to like do that mental math, calculate how to beat the room, how soon do I need to turn, where do I need to move, and they nailed the map design so well because I don't know if you guys were ever into the sort of like Quake 3 type of online games where it was 1v1 shooters, but those maps were very similar to these types of maps where it's basically like you have the whole map dialed in your head and the spawns are also dialed in your head and you're just constantly moving from like spawn to spawn to spawn to get the more powerful weapons or whatever. You don't do that in this game, but the idea is the same where you enter a room and you basically have the entire map downloaded immediately. Where it's like, I know where I can jump, I know how to get everywhere, I know what I can climb, what I can't climb, and I know where all the initial wave of enemies are. And like, it's so good because, like you guys have been saying, it's such a good design because most games, like you said, Teddy, are 180 degrees of combat. You only fight with what you see in front of you, and this is a rare game, which you really only experience in multiplayer games, not really in single-player campaigns, where it's 360-degree combat at all times. So that the maps serve the combat. You know, the combat like defined how the maps have to be because they can't be complicated with corridors and all this weird stuff. They have to be like parkour arenas, basically, where you just like anything you see, you can get to. Any wall you see, you can jump over or double jump over if you want to hit it really cleanly, you know, and like it's just great. They just did a great job.
This is the first true 4-dimensional shooter.
True. It's a 4-dimensional shooter and they're playing 5D chess.
Which actually, in that vein, this is a very small thing I had, but it kind of seems relevant to all the turning and angling. But the sound design, specifically the like sounds of enemies and the like sound effects are like the stereo, like the binaural nature of it is so annoying. It's like you turn your head and it's totally silent in your other ear. And video games do this all the time in cutscenes where you can control your camera. Like sometimes, like in Skyrim, it's louder if you turn and are standing right next to them and put your ear right there. And it's just, maybe that's true, but it just feels so exaggerated. And I found myself just really, that was the like one of the probably the worst gripe I had with the whole game was this like, I love the sounds, but they're like coming from. I'm in the virtual barbershop, you know. It's like,
well, I actually don't think it's good in terms of binaural spacing. I do think the sounds are awesome, but
yeah,
I think they could have done a better job of 3-dimensional sound space because, like,
absolutely,
that's. I mean, I also think that's super interesting with binaural stuff, but how you can locate things by sound, it's just like an amazing human ability. But I do think as games get better and better, you're seeing more and more of that, and it's like I think that's like a way you can deal with like actually we're existing in a 3D space in our ears, but in our eyes we're not. And like you know this game isn't perfect, but like I think maybe a better version of this could do that.
Yeah, and I just finished The Last of Us 2, which did come out more recently, but is on more restricted audio hardware than PCs were in 2016 and still are, and now have obviously gone beyond. And the sound, the audio is incredible. Like it's so you can really hear exactly where things are coming from, especially if you're playing with a headset. So those are the two games I was playing, both those games like back to back these last few weeks, and so it was always really jarring to come back to Doom and be like, oh, I like love what I'm hearing, but why does it feel like I have water in my right ear right now?
Yeah, I agree and disagree because I think, yeah, like I'm super also trained to trust my ears where an enemy is. Like I have 20 years of trusting that, and sometimes it's right in this game. That was what's frustrating with me, right? If I hear an imp over, back right of me, I always turn 100% of the time. But half the time there's not even an enemy in the room. That's what drove me crazy. It was like,
yes, yeah.
it's like
No, I agree,
cool
yeah.
sounds when you're walking through a hallway, but why does it sound like I'm getting attacked from all angles when there's not even an enemy, right? I just want cool atmospheric sounds in those moments. And then when I'm actually in a fight and I hear a pinky behind me, it's right. And I'm like, oh shit, there actually is a pinky behind me and I have to double jump here. But yeah, it was inconsistent. And then there's also the music though, which much like the Castlevania pod we haven't mentioned till like, an hour into the pod, but it's incredible. It won all sorts of awards. It colors everything that we've said that's good about the game, and it brings it out, right? It's like it was so good.
And this, to stay on my Last of Us 2 comparison, I just had this thought where if you took the music out of Doom, the game would be so much worse if it was silent. And The Last of Us 2 would be a little worse. But for the most part, I think, the music is just so intertwined with the gameplay in this game. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one part where you clear a room and then you open you activate something and then immediately the music cuts back in. It's you have spent this whole time fighting and then you activate something right. So the music ends after you clear the room, then you activate something and then it kicks right back into the combat loop and you're just oh fuck, I have to do this all over again. And it was such a good, that was a good use of humor and music. I don't remember what part, but I was this is fucking genius. I love it.
Yeah, it's not just that the music's amazing, and actually I should mention I'm gonna do a music from Doom podcast in a week from now. I'm recording with 2 professional musician friends, so we'll go more in depth there. But the implementation of the music, like you guys were just saying, is also so good and connected to the play style, right? Because you listen to the soundtrack on YouTube or whatever, and a track's 4 minutes long, but that part of the game might have been 20 minutes long. So it's how do they do that? Every track has quiet, sort of ambient parts. Every track has really hype, crazy metal parts where he ran a chainsaw through the actual synthesizer to get the sound. That's a real thing, and it feels that way. And the implementation is so good because it's whenever you're reaching that height of your heart is racing, your adrenaline is probably out of control high, everything, you're the Doom guy in that moment, that's when the music is always at its height. And whenever you're done with a fight and fuck, I just need armor and the ammo and I need to recollect myself, the music's at its low. And it's always it just goes with you and lives in the game. It's excellent. Yeah.
So also Last of Us 2 comparison.
I haven't played it.
I found that when I finished a fight in The Last of Us 2, I cleared an area, I afterwards realized they had built an amazing dynamic space for combat and stealth and fighting. And I'm the game did not telegraph that enough, or you did not understand the map well enough until you totally explored it. And I think this game, it's kind of on the line. I think they did a really good job, and it's hard to do. But I was actually thinking about this, especially because we play so many competitive shooters, having a multiplayer map totally wired. I know where this is. I know where they're going to come from. I know how to Apex, I know how to climb everything in this building or whatever. And they did a good job of this is how the space works. Sometimes it would be a little slow when you got to a map. You'd have to mop up a few enemies, especially in hell, and then the wave would start. But I feel if I knew the maps a little bit better, I would have felt a little bit more awesome in the space. I think considering there's no real way to do that, they did a really good job. But I do wish there were some parts where I was oh, I wish I knew I could clear that gap, or I wish I knew I could do this thing. I feel I would have been more like Bruce Lee.
To
That
me,
being said,
that's the movement. That's what I was saying at the
Yeah.
beginning. Let's sorry to interrupt you. That's what I was saying with the movement at the beginning is like, I should be able to double jump. I should be able to control myself in the air. I should be able to climb fast. Like all that stuff you unlock later in the game, whereas it's core to the map and it's core to the gameplay. And I think you should just have it out the gate, you know? Like upgrading the suit. Who gives a shit? Like that's not story, but it's a weird progression thing that they just
this
felt
isn't
like
an RPG.
this isn't an RPG, and I don't want to play an RPG.
Yeah.
I'm Doomguy. So, yeah, like that. To me, that's what that is more than anything. Because by the end of the game, maybe part of it is just getting used to it, but by the end of the game, I do feel like I had all the maps dialed in. I knew every jump I could clear because I could double jump.
Yeah.
I knew, like, if I hit this thing, I'll fly up there or whatever. But it took unlocking and progressing all of these things about my suit until I like had that, you know? Yeah.
This game's too easy.
And not that I disagree. I'm just curious what like more difficulty means and when is that good and when is that bad, and like does more difficulty add something to the game or does it just make it like unnecessary complexity, or you know, that's a tough one, I think, to answer of getting like the balance of difficulty.
Yeah, I think like I actually found towards the end of the game it was more difficult, and it was because there were so many enemies.
So many.
And it was just like it was too noisy. I feel like I couldn't be as artful. Like I really just had to like, you know, get the minigun out and just mow everybody down or something. Like, I feel like if there was just slightly less, but you had to be a little bit more precise. Like, and this is hard because I think as soon as you go over the edge, it's not Doom anymore. It's
because
not
we're
fun.
clashing with what we said earlier right now.
Like it's just, I'm dying over and over again. Like, it's not rewarding you for being bold. I've actually heard Doom Eternal is harder.
Okay. That's good.
But I think, and like also someone who's not like, I played video games my whole life. Someone who I think you want to be able to turn down the difficulty also, right? Like I think playing on the easier difficulties is good for people who like, you know, aren't fucking nerd, like, you know, losers like me. But I do wish like maybe there was something I could have experimented with. Like I feel like I shouldn't be able to put it on the hardest difficulty and be like, very often this is too easy. Like,
yeah, fair.
And I don't know, maybe they were just like conscious, like we don't want anyone to play this and be like,
yeah, like maybe that clashed too hard with the fun, like the core mechanics of running, gunning, fun, chaos, and the power fantasy of I'm a god.
Right.
Like maybe that just clashes. Like maybe you don't get the I'm the Doom guy thing if it's hard and you keep dying. I don't know. I'm sure they tested it, but
right.
Yeah. Where else do you want to go? I think Milk's question was a good one that we didn't talk about.
I want to go to Milk's question.
We want to go there. Milk said, do you ever feel alone/lonely during a single player campaign?
Yes.
Definitely.
No.
I have an extremely controversial take here.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Cut.
I have to say it. I'm very curious what you guys think about it because we grew up playing the same games. I think the optimal way to play this game would be at your friend's house on 4-way split screen, if that existed. It doesn't exist. Split screen's dead.
Tell me more. Like,
I just think like I loved the game. I loved the game, not multiplayer, like the campaign. Like I loved the game. I just wanted to experience it with my friends. Like I like experiencing fun, crazy shit with my friends. That's the personal preference, I guess. But like the first time you beat Halo, right? Like that's at your friend's basement or with your brother or something. Like first time you beat GoldenEye, it's the same, right? And you switch off or whatever it is. And it's like, there were so many parts where I was like, oh my fucking God. And I just wanted like to be next to my friend, like experiencing that with like sharing the moment, because it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I had so many like sick kills. It's another thing to be like, did you just see that fucking glory kill that I did? And I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Like I threw a grenade and then like, you know, that was my controversial take, is that like this game fucking rules and I love it. And I just think like it reminded me of my youth of doing those things with my friends by my side, as opposed to doing it by myself and then talking about it later, which is an extremely different experience.
Extremely lame.
Those are two different things. And I agree with
the second
that this is a callback to, I mean, maybe this is reaching too much, but it's to playing in your friend's basement and people watching you, or like all of you, where like, I love co-op games. Danny and I are talking about doing a co-op version of this, like, section of this podcast, right? Like,
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think that is like peak video games, like playing with your friends in a campaign. But this, like, I feel like co-op wouldn't be able to appreciate, like, you wouldn't be able to see the awesomeness, like watch your friend being like, oh my god, I can't believe you just did that, and just everyone be like, oh my god, a sleepover in middle school, right? That's what this game is.
That's where I want to go.
Yeah,
that's where I want to go.
And
yeah, so maybe I was wrong on the co-op, but you get the vibe of what I'm trying to say, I think.
Yeah, well, and related to Milk's question, like, I just think with Doom and with any game, like, playing it with other people is awesome. Like, it's just more fun that way. Like, you can still have an awesome arena and do everything that we did in Doom with more people, but yeah, like the experience of the euphoria of that was an awesome play, right? Is playing at a sleepover in middle school.
Totally. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it would have been amplified. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with Teddy that I think a lot of the aspects of the game would have been more hidden in co-op. I do. But I think I would have loved to have played it with someone looking over my shoulder or trading off with a friend. That would have been awesome. So
right? Like,
I definitely felt lonely. That's why it's nice to have Shadowplay running and I can clip it and share it eventually. But
too soon.
It's just not the same. Yeah, that is too soon. But I think you guys are more right than what I was saying about co-op. But it's really just the sensation of like a group. Oh my god, did you see that? Right? We play online games and you get a bit of that. Like, we're not sitting next to each other, but we're on Discord and Teddy just got a triple kill in League of Legends and outplayed, and we're all like, oh my god, we're all screaming, and it's so much better than if Teddy got the kills and then told us about it later or clipped it. It's still cool, but it doesn't have like the hype, and I just felt, especially at the beginning when it was like a little slower and I really was prepared to not like the game after a couple hours. I was like, this just isn't hitting. Like, I'm gonna give this a negative review. Obviously that changed drastically, but in those moments, I definitely felt like lonely, like, I have to play this like solo game by myself when my friends are probably on Discord, like playing Rocket League or whatever, and that's so much more fun.
It's a lonely game too. Like, I was talking to Milk about this a little bit, but like in The Last of Us, you have companions. You just got to play The Last of Us alone because we're just going to keep talking about it forever. Yeah,
Jesus,
sorry, okay. I'm sorry. But God of War, right? So you have you're the God of War, or you're not actually, but your son is there too, and he's talking with you the whole game. And then eventually you get a beheaded fawn whose his head is like attached to your belt, and he talks to you too. And like the game's full of these characters who are with you in the game space, communicating things about the world, reacting to things you do, like, oh, look out, Dad, or like
Jason,
Jesus Christ, Joel,
Jason. Jesus Christ, Joel, like, you do something awesome, like, holy shit, right? And it doesn't quite, it's not the same, but it feels like the game's at least recognizes some of the stuff you're doing, and in a way that it's human, besides just like extra points or something. And it does feel a little bit more. It feels less lonely. And this, like, Samuel Hayden is like the worst possible companion. He's like a robot, literally,
a heartless piece of shit.
Genius.
The only companion you have in this game or anything close to it is sort of, this is cheesy, but it's sort of the music. That's the only thing. Like Glory Kill is an example of a thing that I want my friend on the couch to be like, oh my, like I want to look at them and be like, oh my fucking god, right? And that's the part where like the music dips, you open its throat up, smash its head against the wall, and then the music rips again, right? Like that's like your closest thing to
that's a good
companion
point.
in
That's
this
a
game.
good point.
Yeah. Alon, your poetry is off the charts this
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, we all beat the game like a week ago or whatever, maybe more in your case, Teddy. And having a week of just purely like thinking about the game, it was really good for me to like crystallize these things that like I felt, but I didn't know how to put it into words.
Should we answer Milk's other question?
What was it?
It was, what are your criteria for judging multiplayer games like Rocket League versus single-player games like Doom? Is there a quality to single-player campaign-style games that makes them more interesting to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I think this so far the conceit of this podcast, like we're kind of taking a narrative approach, like literature or something like that. That being said, like I think we are often talking about games on their own terms anyway, and like I don't think like is it fun to play, right? Do we like it? What, like that could be narrative. Doom doesn't really have a narrative. In fact, what it does have sucks, right? But actually what we love about it is kind of like what we like about multiplayer games, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm like totally fine evaluating a game on its merits, like why we're playing it. But I think it's an interesting question.
I think there's more to talk about in this format for a single player game. But maybe that's wrong. I feel like if we were to talk for an hour and a half about Rocket League or League, we would have to get into a lot of the metagame or like the world around the game of esports, and there's only so much you can say about what's actually going on. And so much of those experiences so much of that game is like lived in game to game, where like something cool happened this game, something cool happened the next game. And when you go to talk about it, what you end up just saying is like, cool things can happen, varied things can happen. And without running down a list, that's all you can really say about it, you know? So I guess that's why we are mostly going to be doing this format for single player or co-op and campaign style games.
I think you nailed that, Danny. It's like also the single player, the campaign style game has a beginning, a middle, an end. It has acts, whatever, you know, story, narrative, things to pull from that we all experienced. Whereas if we were to do one about Counter-Strike, we would all have very different experiences. Unless we played literally every game together and watched each other as soon as we died. We'd have very different experiences. There's also rank is a sort of like a game ruiner, you know, in a lot of ways. Like imagine this game had a ranking system or something, or put you on a chart if you got this many kills, or you access different things if you're better or worse, or it just wouldn't work. And like in a lot of ways, like the heart and soul of like playing games for fun and playing games for like personal expression and pleasure get removed as soon as you put a fucking silver, gold, platinum next to it, you know, where it's like, I'm just fucking grinding, dude. Like that. If I was to do a League of Legends thing, it would have to start with, I'm trash. I'm literal silver trash. So anything I say is like invalid, because I'm not good enough to have an opinion on this.
Right. I mean, how many people out there would be like, oh, Alon doesn't play League of Legends, he's silver. Right? Like that's not the game. Right?
Yeah.
I worked for Killscreen, like this video game magazine that was like my dream job when I first moved to New York. And I was writing all these bullshit articles. And my editor was finally like, I want you to review a game. Can you review? And I was so psyched. And he's like, can you review PlanetSide or PlanetSide 2? And it's like a sort of MMO shooter. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm so psyched. I'm going to have a review in Killscreen. I can't wait. Like, I'm a real writer now. And I probably played like 60 hours of it. And I wasn't comfortable. I never wrote a review because I just didn't. Like, I was like, can I write the review? Do I know what this game is? Maybe not 60, like 40. Also, it sucked. and I didn't really get it, and was like, am I gonna write a review about a game I only put in this game that probably people played for hundreds of hours, that it sucks and I didn't play that much? It just felt wrong. I was like, if I played the campaign that didn't exist, I would I got it right. I did it start to finish, but there was something so open ended about that I just felt like a fraud reviewing it.
It's write a review of EVE Online. It's
yeah, what? Yeah.
And you've never played it before,
years.
Right?
World of Warcraft is back. Write a review of World of Warcraft Classic. It just returned.
Yeah.
That's on my desk in the morning, right? What the fuck am I supposed to do with that? I have to play 500 hours of World of Warcraft to even remotely understand what the world was like at that moment when it came out, you know? And it's just and that's what I was saying with Counter-Strike was my example. Obviously, how could we have the same experience? It's actually impossible that we have the same experience playing this game that I've played 10,000 hours of since, for the last 25 years, probably. I don't even know,
Yeah.
And I'm not even good anymore. To the rank point, I suck now. I used to be really good. Now I suck. So I'm not even a qualified,
Should we come back to Doom?
Yeah, let's come home. Are there other? I feel like we covered most of the major things that we wanted and felt like we needed to cover. Was there other stuff that you guys wanted to just bring up or talk about, or? How sick is the Doom logo? Oh my god!
I do think that I'm going to your replayability question. I do think I might try playing on the absolute hardest difficulty.
Yes,
and seeing how far I get.
Yeah,
seeing if it's
curious
possible
to do that too. So
I'm not going to. I'm going to do it one try.
It's called something Nightmare or
Ultraviolet Nightmare. Or
Ultraviolet Nightmare. I think that's what it's actually called. And yeah, so if you die in that game, you die in real life. No, if you die in that game, in that mode, there's no saving in that mode. So you just lose the game. Yeah. I think that sounds fun and really hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see
post
how
your
far
death
we
clips.
Yeah. How far do you get?
Yeah.
Oh my god, let's go.
Awesome,
man.
I'm really excited for the one who falls off the edge.
To kill a Ghastly.
Just to hit a sick clip. That's gonna be me.
Yeah.
That's the way I died most by far.
Yeah,
because
totally.
I went for an unnecessary double jump mantle 360 no scope type of kill, and I was like, oh fuck, I fell, and you don't grab the edge of the cliff or anything. You just slide off in really awkward movement.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Can't do everything perfectly.
Well, that's
good.
That's Doom.
That's Doom.
That's Doom.
Fucking loved it.
Yeah.
For next month's episode, we will be playing Subnautica from 2018. Happy gaming.